Good afternoon. So, the question I have, are you part of the 2 a.m. club? What do I mean by that? Are you constantly waking up in the middle of the night, or even just struggling to get to sleep in the first place? Are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling anxious? Now, I think as a business owner, and generally at the moment, life in general is throwing up some real crap. And I think one of the key things that I think, just generally, whether you're a business owner or not, that is such an important thing that we need to get a handle on is our mental health. And, I've shared time and time again in terms of these videos in relation to my story with mental health. I have openly admitted that during COVID, I had a breakdown. And, that was triggered by a number of different aspects in relation to my life, coming from, challenges in relation to my previous career as a lawyer, passing away, all of which ultimately led to me having a breakdown. And every now and again, I have what I call my wobbles, I guess, because ultimately, whilst I have thankfully worked hard to be able to come to the place where I am in relation to my mental health, there are still times where my anxiety kicks in and my overthinking kicks in. As human beings, we are not perfect. We make mistakes. The key thing with those mistakes is that we learn from them. I am a firm believer that in every experience, there is a lesson and that there is a blessing. And ultimately, if we're learning from our experiences, whether they're good or bad, that will always give us a period of growth. And ultimately, in relation to our mental health, we have to make that as a priority. So many times do I see and hear where people focus on their physical health, but they don't focus on their mental health. And actually, we need to be able to focus on both, and often they work hand in hand. So, for example, one of the ways that I help in terms of my mental health is exercise. Exercising regularly. Last week, for example, I did 7 days of exercise. I don't normally do 7 days of exercise, but ultimately I felt like because my anxiety levels had increased, that I knew that that was one way to be able to keep to be able to try and reduce my anxiety. Now, last week, for example, I had to deal with something that was on a legal remit, which, because of what I used to do, used to be a case of something that I could do in my sleep without thinking. But because of everything that had happened previously, it became a trigger for me. So anything legal, anything of that ilk, I have to be really mindful of the fact that it can trigger me. And last week I was triggered. And as a result, I had to be able to try and actually process and cope with that. And exercise was one of the biggest ways in which I did it. And I forced myself to continue and to finish the thing that I needed to do, because ultimately my anxiety was only going to get worse the longer that I left it if I didn't deal with this particular aspect that I needed to deal with, right? And I think sometimes when we are feeling anxious, we can get into a situation where we are procrastinating. We aren't dealing with the things that we need to deal with. And ultimately, we have to take action. And it's all well and good when people talk about positivity and thinking positive thoughts. You aren't a bad person if you have negative thoughts. Positive people have negative thoughts. The key part of it is so that you don't stay in that period of negativity and that you actually push through. You feel how you need to feel, you process those feelings, but you don't stay there and you move forward, right? And that is an absolutely crucial part. The other part is, don't go into a situation where you are in a victim mindset. And it is so easy to do, where it's that whole thing of, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why do I deserve this? Don't think like that. Instead of thinking, why me? Try me. That's the phrase you need to throw back at it. It's not why me, it's try me. Because ultimately, in life, we face challenges. That is life. We don't, just because we're a positive person and that we have positive vibes and positive thoughts, does it mean that challenging things don't arise? The difference is how we respond to those challenges. Ultimately, you cannot control what you cannot control. You can only control your responses to situations. And if you have a positive solution finding response to a challenge, you won't then fall into that massive trap in terms of that negative victim mindset mode. Now, if you do start to fall into that trap, there are a number of things that I would highly recommend that you do to help pull you back out of it, because it does happen. We are human at the end of the day. As I said, exercises are fundamental. Whether it's going out for a walk in fresh air with your dogs, whether it's a case doing a high intensity workout, or, for example, one of the things I've been using recently is I have a punching bag, and punching the hell out of that can sometimes really help reduce my anxiety and get the tension that is out of my body. Another key thing that I do is journaling. And journaling can be in a number of different ways. So sometimes my journaling is a case of I put the phrase of how do I feel right now? And in that, I will literally put all of my feelings down, whether I'm feeling disappointed, whether I'm feeling angry, whatever my feelings are, I put them down and I write down all of the things, all of the thoughts that are whizzing around in my head, to get them out of my head and then onto a piece of paper, and it just provides me clarity. But then what I also do is I try and find an emotion or a feeling that is a little bit more positive. So Gabby Bernstein, in her book Super Attractor, she has something called the Choose Again method, and she has this scale of emotions and feelings. And what she encourages you to do is, if you're on a negative feeling, you just try and find one that is 1 or 2 steps above that negative feeling in that scale. And that's exactly one of the things that I do to try and feel more positive, is try and find something that I am grateful for example, something that I am, more positive about. So it just pulls me up that scale just a few steps. Also, when it comes to journaling, writing a gratitude list, just even if you can only write down 5 things that you are grateful for. And it could simply be things like your health. It could be the fact in terms of the fact that you've got eyes that you can see with, you've got food in the cupboards, you've got a roof over your head, you've got a means of being able to travel. These are just simple things that we sometimes take for granted, because they are things that often that we just have. But there are things to be grateful for. In life, there is always something to be grateful for. Another thing to think about is your affirmations. And it's things like I am statements. So I am strong, I am powerful, I am worthy, I am more than enough, I am confident, I am smart, I am intelligent. Writing these types of affirmations can really lift you up. And even if you choose a couple of these affirmations that you actually then say to yourself whilst looking in the mirror, can make a world of difference. Saying to yourself when you look in the mirror, I love you. Now, you may think, well, Sarah, what the hell does this have to do with business? It's got everything to do with business, because as business owners, we suffer with our mental health. If something's not going right in our business, we have the sleepless nights, we feel stressed, we feel anxious. And these are things that, whether you're a business owner or not, you can actually utilize to be able to pull you out of that negative state. And these are all tools that I use personally. These are things that I've been taught by my life coach, as well as watching various YouTube videos on people who talk about the law of attraction and the law of vibration and all of that kind of thing. It's so important that you focus on your mental health and your mindset, because I am a firm believer that in relation to success, 80% is mindset, 20% is hard work. Because ultimately, if your mindset is completely off, it doesn't matter what's happening in your personal life, in your business life, if a challenge comes flying at you, if your mindset is not in the right place, it means it will hit you harder. It will be so much more harder for you to be able to actually deal with and find a solution. So just to recap as a few hints and tips, exercise regularly, even if it's just going for a walk with the dog. Do journaling. Make sure you just write down how you are feeling, because actually just getting that out of your head can make a massive difference. Using the things like gratitude, writing just 5 things you're grateful for, 10 if you can, and your affirmation statements. These are just a few of the tools that I use, that when I am feeling negative, or I'm feeling down, or I'm feeling emotional, or I'm feeling stressed or anxious, these are the things that I utilize. And I'm generally, people come to me because they want, one of my friends uses the phrase, they want some Sarah motivation, because ultimately I am a positive person and I try and find solutions to challenges that people have rather than dwelling on the problem. But I still suffer. I still suffer with my mental health at times. I still feel anxious. I still feel stressed. For the last week, apart from I think last night, I have been a part of that 2 a.m. club, waking up and struggling to get to sleep. I've got things that are causing me anxiety, but you know what? I'm using these tools to try and pull myself up and to get myself back into a positive mindset, to not procrastinate, to actually take action. The key is to take action. Sitting there, hoping it will all work itself out will not solve it. You have to take action. So I hope today that the positive motivational talk just helps one or two of you. Thank you very much for listening. If you would like some help in terms of the mindset side of things, please just put in the comments mindset, and we can get a call booked in and we can have a chat and see how I can potentially help you. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of the day, and I will see you all very soon.